Everybody, welcome back to Blushing Nerd Tarot. Have a little bit of a different format today. One of the advantages of being a small channel with relatively low following is that I can play with the formats because I haven't set any expectations really for the type of content I'm going to do. So, one of the things I've been thinking about lately is what sort of formats do I enjoy with other channels? And sometimes, it's outside of the tarot world that, I find some inspiration there. And one in particular would be the podcast formats that I see in some content creation where there's sort of a set format for a show, an episode. It has certain types of topics that are covered every time, and maybe they do it once a week or once a month or whatever the case may be. There's some consistency there, and I do really tend to enjoy those shows. I find myself going back to those time and time again, and there are some examples of that in the tarot world, tarot community, but I haven't seen a lot. So I thought I'd give it a try and take a look at some different topics. And I'm always open to suggestions if anybody has any thoughts or examples that of shows that they enjoy. But anyway, so we have a few different topics I'd like to cover today, just to try it out, and we'll see where we go from there. But first up, I have what's new in my tarot world. What's coming up? A few different things that could feed into that. I also have. I would like to do a Kickstarter feature, so maybe some projects that are coming up that are either close to being finished. Their time is up in just a couple of days or a week or so. Just something within the next week that's going to be wrapping up, but maybe isn't fully funded yet. And not necessarily a promotion per se. That it's something that I'm looking at myself, but it may be. Sometimes it might be a deck that I'm interested in, and I'd like to join in the campaign, or I'd just like to bring it up to discuss. Maybe some of these have been out for a while, but they're not fully funded yet, and why not? So I think because that's we see Kickstarter projects all the time that run the full gamut uh, of types of themes and approaches and systems and everything else. So it's in a way that's our farm for newness in the tarot world. That's where the independent creativity comes out, and it's interesting to see what the community is backing and what they're not backing. So I think that's an interesting place to look to see what direction our this thing that we do is heading. Not necessarily something we'll see with the big publishing houses. They don't tend to innovate as much. So I'd like to take a look at that. I also have a tip of the week for you, something that I'd like to feature on a regular basis. Um, and then I'll have maybe a card of the week and a tangential topic, something that maybe is loosely related to tarot and oracle in some way, but just takes a little bit of a sideways path from that. So, what's new for me this week is I have a deck coming in that I'm pretty excited to receive, and it is MJ Cullinane's. Um, well, I'm going to share here. Um, so, it is the Guardian of the Night Tarot, and it's a signed copy. These are still available, so they are. That was picked up by Hay House, and no doubt you've seen some reviews on this deck, and as I have, but it is not one that I have in my collection yet, and I am excited to receive a signed copy of that. I like signed copies of books. I do collect autographed books that are of interest to me. So having signed copies of tarot is kind of an interesting thing as well. Something I'm excited to try out. So um, I don't. Again, I haven't even actually looked at a lot of reviews of this deck yet. almost on purpose because I figured this is one I'd be getting regardless. So it's one of those that I kind of wanted to experience it new for myself. So excited to be able to get this in a signed copy. They are still available, and if you go to crowtarotshop.com, you can buy them direct there for 34.99 US. And again, they are still available. There's also, other decks here as well. Um, and plenty of interesting stuff here. I think this is she's a great creator, really good artist. They definitely appeal to me. It's just it's going to be a all new experience for me altogether. I do not have anything from this creator yet, so I think that'll be exciting. So, I'm going to go right into the Kickstarter feature from there. So, one of the things when I'm looking at a Kickstarter here for this purpose, I'd like to basically go in, search for tarot deck, and then from there, just narrow by end date. So, what's the nearest end date? Of course, you can search in lots of different ways here, but I want to see what's coming up close to closing and see what the community is really putting their money behind, because I think that's an interesting way to see what direction we're heading. And we see here right at this last one that's about to go, 46 hours left. It's fully funded, 163% funded. That is the Life Spirit Fortune deck. So that is it interesting to me? Um, from this standpoint, no, because I'm looking at things that are on the edge, that maybe are just about to be funded, but haven't quite gotten there yet. Some decks, they go up and they're fully funded in less than 24 hours or something, some very quick amount of time like that. And that's interesting because that means, it just hit all the right, it checked all the boxes, and the community's just fully ready to back that. But then we have some that just sit out there for a while, and maybe take some additional time to build up steam. So we have here next in line, it's 82% funded with 3 days to go. That feels to me like it's probably going to go. It's Beautiful Beasts Tarot. Animal decks do tend to seem to be successful. So, what is it about this one, though, that didn't take it across the line sooner? I'm not sure, and I don't know what the average is for a length of time for something to get fully funded. Is it the art style here? Yeah, hard to say. It does look like the deck has been fully created. We're talking about 350 GSM art stock, matte finish, rounded corners, etc. It seems like this is a deck that would appeal to people, but it didn't quite get there yet. So, but again, typically what I want to do here is feature one that might be a little more edgy. This one, 8% funded with 5 days to go. That doesn't seem like it's going to make it. I'm not too interested in looking at that. So this one is the one that I wanted to look at, the Four Pillars Society Tarot. It's only 29% funded with 6 days to go, but 29% funded at $5,800. Hmm. That's pretty expensive production if they need that additional 71% to get themselves to be fully funded. That seems like a pretty large amount of money. So what takes us there? What gets us up to that level? So a tarot deck and oracle that explores its mythos. Hmm. I believe so. This deck appears to be fully created and ready to go. I think what I read here is that the idea is they need this additional money to bring the overall cost down for all people, for the whole community. So for everybody who wants to buy it, if they get this funding, then that uh, allows them to bring the cost down for all, which is that seems like a pretty good idea. And the artwork is interesting. They do show all the artwork here. That is often an issue for folks not wanting to back a project because they don't get to see that full expression of the art. But we do have everything broken down here by suit, and seems like it's complete and ready to go. So, why we're not there yet for this, I'm not sure. There could be, maybe it is something about that overall cost. Maybe people are a little shy to get on board, but it is one that your money is refunded, I believe, if it doesn't go through. This is just, again, it's just a matter of trying to reduce the overall cost of each deck for everyone by kind of coming together in this crowdfunding way. So 37 backers, 6 days to go. Still have quite a bit to go. The total being 15,398 for their goal. But 6 days is a decent amount of time in this. If they end up getting more traction, perhaps it'll cross the line. Is it one that I'm going to back? I I don't know. I'm not there yet, but I want to read more about it. I have not read through the entire project information here, so I am going to read through it. I'm going to, see if it's something that I really want to put my money into, and I'll back it if it is. So anyway, I'll link all of this in the description today, so everybody can take a look. Um, so with that, then I'd like to go to the tip of the week. So the tip today is MPC. Um, if you're curious about, and I struggled with this a little bit, ordering decks from MPC, trying to decide, for one thing, getting the decks into the US, because I believe they ship from Germany. Wherever they're shipping from, it seems to take a while, right? So I want to make sure when I purchase a deck through MPC, that I'm getting the card stock that I want, because you usually have a choice, and that's something that's unique to this, that you don't usually have that with any other deck that you buy. You don't get a choice. It is what it is. So I think it's neat to be able to make that selection here. And sometimes I think maybe sometimes the creators, if you're buying something from the marketplace, they basically have it closed it down to a few different options. But if you go to, and pardon me, I have to duck down under my camera to see the screen here a little bit. But if you if you go to design and buy at the top, and then look over here in the accessories section, go down to sample pack. And here's where you can buy a sample card pack for 79 cents US, that's going to have basically all of the different card stocks from MPC. And they come in playing card size, and it's just one card of each type, right? So, um, or two, I'm sorry, it is two. I think it's two of each, each sample that you get. So, here are all the different sizes, different card stocks that you get. I think this is pretty cool. So I did order one of these last year sometime. Got it in, and I keep it in my desk, and it's just a great little reference to get an idea for what they mean when they're talking about, core card stock and the linens and the different superior smooth and professional standard. What do they mean by all of that? Because those are all words that we can pretend to think, okay, we know how to feel about this card stock, and we can imagine. But if you hold it in your hands, it totally changes the experience. You start to understand, what do they mean by linen air light with a black core? What does that mean? What's it going to feel like in my hands? The one thing you don't get here is the full deck experience, which changes things. So if you're partway, you have, one selection here that interests you and it feels good as a single card. Is it going to feel good as a whole deck? Sometimes that won't translate all the way to a whole deck size, but generally speaking, this is a much better way to understand what that card stock's going to be like than not having anything and just trying to read a description about it. And it's very difficult to describe card stock. And so definitely having it in your hands, world of difference. So again, just go to MPC's main website, makeplayingcards.com, under design and buy, accessories, sample pack, and I will link that to in the description as well. So um the little tangential topic that I had for today, This is kind of fun. So I had basically, I've ordered several copies of um, the Rider Tarot deck with no copyright. And let me just add here. So the no copyright tarot decks have one, of course, you've maybe seen on some other channels. The one way to tell which copy you're getting, or if you're getting, maybe when it was produced, is to look at the address on the little white book. This one being 468 Park Avenue South, New York, New York, and that'll tell you roughly when it was produced. It may give you some indication of slight differences in the cards and the coloring and different things like that as U.S. game systems moved from different locations. So they had a couple of locations in New York City, then they moved to Connecticut. So, and I think once they got to Connecticut, I believe is when they started putting copyrights on the cards. So, something to consider there. But what is 468 Park Avenue South now? That was my thing that I was curious about. It is a Chipotle. And of course, there's more than that. There is um it's a big building, fairly large, not for that city, but of course it is. It's a nice tall building that you can just imagine those offices back in the day, in the early 1900s, and then into the 70s. I think this building's been around for a long time, but in the 1970s, when U.S. Game Systems had their facilities there, pretty fun stuff. So I think it's interesting to kind of trace those back and see what's there now. And of course, there could be offices up above that Chipotle. It could be flats. I'm not sure, or apartments. Um, hard to say for sure what's going on up there now, but anyway, you can go get yourself a burrito and think about tarot cards being published out of that building um, back in the early 70s. So that's kind of a fun little thing. Um, so then basically like to just pull a card for the week. This will be an Oracle card from it is from the Supra Oracle deck from Usi. And as usual, open from the bottom so that we can keep this seal intact, as everyone tends to do in the community. It's kind of a known thing these days. I don't know that I'd ever run into an Usi box that's opened from the top. I would be really surprised, because it seems like everybody that talks about these decks, the first thing they say is never open the box from the top because you'll break the seal or something. But so anyway, Super Oracle is just an amazing quality deck, beautiful artwork. It is a nice companion to the Pagan Otherworlds Tarot, but of course, it's a great standalone deck, and will also pair well with plenty of other tarot decks if you like to pair tarot and oracle, which is something I enjoy doing. Uh, so if we think about the upcoming week, here we are at the kind of sunsetting on summer. At least that's the way a lot of I think about it, just because of the way school's going back and things like that. And uh, we're starting to transition into that time of year where things get busier again, maybe busy in a different way, um, and and lots of change. We have that change, and I talked about it in a previous um, video. We have the change coming out of the school year into the beginning of summer, and how that sometimes for some people is very difficult, because there's a change in lack of structure, and lack of structure can be something that actually can be anxiety inducing for some folks. And so it's not all great for everybody coming into summer, that are transitioning out of school and things like that. For people that do have that change, it can be difficult. So that's something to keep in mind. But for some, it's amazing to have that free time and just to make that change. But going back to can also be a trying time. So it's anytime we have these big transitions, we change between one way of doing things to another. That can be difficult for some. So something that I like to think about. So our card is the hidden. So what are those things that we're not quite seeing? We're not quite considering yet, that could be impacting us in ways that we're not yet recognizing. And those hidden things could be great. They could be really good, positive influences on our lives. The hidden things could also be challenging, um, but something we can sort of pull back the veil a little bit and see what's going on behind the scenes, and maybe take advantage once we figure out what is hidden, what's back there, what's just out of view, and maybe use that in a way um, to move us forward into the next phase. Um, take advantage of what is just out of sight, might be that next opportunity that propels us forward into our next phase, into the autumn season, this change back to maybe a different type of routine for us, for a lot of folks, whether you're in school yourself, for your parents, or you're you're getting people back, or you're in education if that's your career. Look for those little hidden gems, those things that just keep your mind open. Make sure that you're not stuck in that tunnel vision with the blinders on, so much so that you're missing opportunities. Those things that are just a little behind that curtain, just behind that veil. Just keep your mind open, and look for ways to utilize the lesser known, the unseen. That's all I have for you today, folks. Thanks for hanging out for a little bit with me. And this is, again, new channel. The world is my oyster. And so I'm going to try different topics and different things to see what people tend to like. So I do appreciate you hanging out, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks, everybody.